The sword sect's target for battle was Leon's armada. Chaos God Mountain had been attacked, and the Tong group had been rescued by a mysterious expert. It was definitely not the Leo family that had implicated them, but rather the Big Sis mercenary group that the Leo family had dealt with. It was the Leon's armada behind the Big Sis mercenary group. Lu Yin wanted to find out the truth of what had happened, and Sang Zhou was also trying to conceal the truth. If Lu Yin could no longer conceal it, then if he were Sang Zhou, he would immediately reveal his cards. His target was Leon's armada. Chaos God Mountain and the Tong group had already joined forces, and there was also that mysterious person. If Lu Yin's guess was not wrong, then it might be related to the Longevity Armada. Now that the Sword Sect was acting strangely, and their target was the Cosmic Sea, there was a 99% chance that it was Leon's armada. However, this was only a guess, and Lu Yin immediately contacted Sage Leon to ask if he had any connections with the Sword Sect. The answer he received was disappointing, as he had also hoped that the Sword Sect had gone to help Leon's armada and not to deal with them. If they were not helping Leon's armada, then they were going to deal with them. Chaos God Mountain, the Tong group, and the Sword Sect were all very dangerous. Lu Yin's gaze trembled, and he muttered to himself for a moment before opening his gadget to contact Wen Zizai. Wen Zizai was in the middle of a conversation with President Han, and he was having a headache. When Lu Yin called, his eyes lit up and he accepted the call. Alliance Master Lu, have you changed your mind? Lu Yin knew that if he had taken the initiative to contact Wen Zizai, he would be at a disadvantage in the negotiations, but he had no other choice. Time was tight and Sang Zhou was also grasping for time. Senior, I really want the panorama, Lu Yin said. Wen Zizai's expression turned ugly. I can't give it to you. You can come to my Wen family. I already told you. You don't want Wen Zizai anymore? Lu Qinmu came back with me and she knows that Wen Zizai is in my hands. Someone from the Sword Sect has already contacted me, Lu Yin said. Wen Zizai's expression changed and his tone became much more serious. What did they offer you? It's not convenient for me to say. I contacted you not only to remind you, but also to give Wen Zizai some face. Wen Zizai helped me more or less in that region of space, and he wishes to return to the Wen family. I'm willing to help him. Wen Zizai relaxed. If that's the case, then that's for the best. However, I really can't give the panorama to you. Lu Yin fell silent, and Wen Zizai did the same. He had lived for many years, so how could he not hear the hidden meaning in Lu Yin's words? He could sense that Lu Yin had changed his conditions or else his tone would not have changed. Wen Zizai decided to wait. He was confident that he was much more patient than Lu Yin, and his years of sweeping had not been in vain. It seems like Senior really can't give the panorama to me. Since that's the case, I'll agree to Senior's conditions and go to the Wen family to take a look, Lu Yin said. Wen Zizai had expected this as Lu Yin had taken the initiative to contact him. He had already guessed that this would be the result, and he was waiting for Lu Yin's other conditions. It's not that I'm giving in but that I want to change this condition, Lu Yin said. Wen Zizai replied, Please speak, Alliance Master Lu. Lu Yin's expression became much more serious. The Sword Sect is preparing for war. I suspect that their target is my Great Eastern Alliance, so I hope that the Wen family can pressure the Sword Sect so that they cannot participate in the war. Wen Zizai was shocked. The Sword Sect is preparing for war? Li Zimo had immediately informed Lu Yin not long after news of the Sword Sect's preparations had spread. The Wen family had been forced to put pressure on the Sword Sect. If he said something like that, Lu Qinjue would probably start a fight. Since Wen Zizai did not answer, Lu Qinjue kept trying. The Sword Sect had been preparing for war with the Cosmic Sea for a long time, and they could not stop because of the Wen family's inexplicable declaration of war. Finally, after 2 full days, Wen Zizai managed to contact Lu Qinjue. However, he had no other choice. Lu Qinjue had been trying to contact him for 2 full days, and it would be unreasonable if he did not answer. Wen Zizai, why are you declaring war on the Sword Sect? Lu Qinjue asked sternly as he stared at Wen Zizai. Wen Zizai's eyes went wide. Lu Qinjue, you still have the nerve to say that? How do you explain being the #1 scholar? What #1 scholar? Lu Qinjue was stunned as he did not know what Wen Zizai was talking about. Wen Zizai sneered. Stop pretending. Do you think I don't know that your Sword Sect wants to take the #1 scholar from Lu Yin? Lu Qinjue was truly at a loss as he had no idea what the #1 scholar was. Lu Qinmu had always been focused on cultivation and had never cared about the outside world. Even as one of the 10 arbiters, he had not cared about the matters of the 5th mainland's younger generation, let alone the impact that the number one scholar would have on the Wen family and the entire Interverse. Stop pretending. Lu Yin already told me that my Wen family will definitely take the number one scholar. If your sword sect dares to stop us, my Wen family will not hesitate to declare war. Wen Zizai ended the call. Lu Qianjue did not know what Wen Zizai was talking about. Number one scholar? Oh, someone from the Wen family? Why had he never heard of this name before? Immediately find out who the number one scholar is, Lu Qianjue ordered. Lu Qianjue did not understand what Wen Zizai was trying to do, but Wen Zizai's attitude did not seem fake. Was the Wen family really going to declare war on the sword sect? Would they be able to bear the consequences? Zhang Zhou was waiting for the sword sect. Chaos God Mountain, the sword sect, and the United Task Force would enter the Cosmic Sea to attack Leon's armada. They were confident that they could eliminate Leon's armada in one fell swoop, but the sword sect still did not move. The agreed-upon time was about to arrive, and Zhang Zhou received a report. The Wen family has declared war on the sword sect? Yes, we just received the news as well. The Wen family has declared war on the sword sect, Zhang Song said. Zhang Zhou felt as if he had seen a ghost. What kind of enmity did the Wen family have with the sword sect? Why had they suddenly declared war? It was as if a group of the Wen family's elites had been wiped out. Zhang Zhou thought about the severity of this matter. If the Wen family had declared war on the sword sect, how could the sword sect continue fighting in the Cosmic Sea? They did not dare to leave so easily. Lonely little fool slapped his chest, but perhaps he had used too much force, for he coughed a few times. I won't. Bro's life is tough. Lu Yin smiled. The situation had changed, but this was not the final battle. Some people would definitely appear, and that was the Xia family. An absolute powerhouse could change the outcome of a battle. When Flying Willow was free, it meant that the scales of victory had tipped in Lu Yin's favor. This was something that the Xia family, who controlled everything behind the scenes, could not accept. Thus, a moment later, a mysterious person arrived on the battlefield and attacked Lu Yin in a sneak attack. Lu Yin had not sensed this person's presence at all. Before this person had attacked, he had not even revealed his rune lines. It had been a complete sneak attack. The mysterious person's sneak attack had succeeded, and his blade had landed on Lu Yin's back. This attack had not been meant to kill Lu Yin, but rather to severely injure him. However, Lu Yin had not been injured, and he had only been sent flying with a tearing pain in his waist. The mysterious person was shocked. How was this possible? Lu Yin looked back, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Fortunately, he had worn miniature armor, or he would have been severely injured even if he had not died. Who are you? Lu Yin barked, and the star-scattered chessboard appeared beneath his feet. The mysterious person's blade slashed down, and the astral source sliced through the void. Lu Yin's planned secret art was affected, and he fell from the sky. The mysterious person leaped out and slashed down at Lu Yin's head. Stop. Heizij Lian roared from afar, stop. He then slashed at the mysterious person with his overlord blade. Lu Yin's heart sank. Not good. The mysterious person's blade changed direction and collided with Tyrant Blade's attack. His blade shattered, and blood spurted from his body as he turned and disappeared into the Star Source universe. Heizij Lian had injured the mysterious person, but he had been stabbed in the abdomen by Commander Ji's spear. The tip of the spear had emerged from his back, and his clothes were stained with blood. Annihilation had also used the Aeon evolution scripture to weaken Heizij Lian's body, causing Commander Ji's injury to worsen. I'll be updating at 3 p.m. for the second day in a row. Thank you for your support. He was an absolute powerhouse with a power level of over 900,000. While Lonely Old Man was on the same level as Night King Dijiang with a power level of over 800,000. Even so, he did not even have the ability to dodge the spear shadow. 10,000 rivers returned to the sea. Heizij Shinwei roared as he used a secret technique from Eternal Sky Island, transforming all attacks into primal energy. Lonely Old Man created a white smoke in front of him to block the spear shadow. Blood rained down from the sky as both Heizij Shinwei and Lonely Old Man were heavily injured by the spear attack. Lonely Old Man gritted his teeth as blood trickled down the corner of his mouth. This was a huge loss. He had thought that this was just a battle between the Cosmic Ocean's 4 tyrants, and he had wanted to do Lu Yin a favor so that he could reduce the amount of white smoke he had to provide. However, he had never imagined that such a powerhouse would be involved. This person was definitely not just the commander of the Longevity Corps, he definitely had a power level of over 1,000,000. If he had known that there was such a powerhouse, he would not have come even if he was beaten to death. Haizid Shinwei glared at Commander G and barked, "Who are you?" Commander G raised his spear once more. "It's time to send you all on your way." As he spoke, his spear danced. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 spear shadows appeared. He wanted to eliminate all the emissaries in Leon's armada in one go. Ding-ling-ling, the crisp sound of a bell rang out, creating a cool breeze that brushed past everyone's ears. The next moment, everyone felt the world darken as a giant hand pressed down on them, intending to crush them into dust. Lu Yin took out the referee's warrant, as this was the only thing he could do at this point. Madame Red asked in a low voice, "This giant bloodline belongs to Lu Yin?" "Yes." "What a coincidence. These giants are currently at my Galloping Horse Mountain Villa. Tell Lu Yin that if he wants to take them away he can come to my Galloping Horse Mountain Villa. I'll be waiting for him." Song Yi panicked. "Madam, if I tell Lu Yin my life you can come to my Flying Horse Manor first. Song Zhou is dead, and Lu Yin won't let you control Chaos God Mountain. He'll only support his own people. Once Lu Yin returns to Chaos God Mountain, your life will truly be gone," the Red Madam said. Song Yi's heart sank as Madame Red had been right. He looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin nodded. Song Yi nervously replied, "Yes, madam. I'll head to the Galloping Horse Mountain Villa right away." The call ended and Song Yi respectfully stood up. Lu Yin's gaze turned gloomy, as Madame Red had really taken them away. This was going to be troublesome, as it was almost impossible to take the giant bloodline away from the Galloping Horse Mountain Villa. Madame Red was an absolute powerhouse whose power level exceeded 900,000, and she was not someone he could deal with. Even with Flying Willow there was a qualitative difference. If he wanted to take the giant bloodline away he would have to negotiate. He believed that since Madame Red wanted to negotiate with him, her conditions would not be low. He did not like to be passive, so there was only one other method, which was to forcefully take them away. If he wanted to succeed with this method, he would have to first contact Madame Red. Lu Yin contacted Wei Rong and the two chatted for a while. Wei Rong was the best at this kind of thing. The next day, Lu Yin brought Song Yi and Flying Willow to the Outerverse Western Weaves. Chaos Flow Zone was located in the west of the Innerverse, and the Astral River Arc was very close to the Western Weaves. After Lu Yin set off, he was just about to contact someone when his gadget rang. It was Enya. "Alliance Master, the Hall of Taimo is in trouble." "What's wrong?" Enya replied, "A giant is blocking the Hall of Taimo, and no one is allowed to enter or leave. He's from the 6th Mainland's Arrow sect, and his name is Brute Force." Lu Yin's expression changed. Enya sent out an image. In outer space, outside the Hall of Taimo, there was a giant that was about 10 meters tall standing there. He carried a longbow on his back and had an arrogant look in his eyes. Lu Yin was stunned when he saw the giant's appearance. It was actually him. He recognized this giant, as he had battled with this giant when he had entered the Daosor Sect's Ruins 9 Cauldron space. This giant was very powerful, and even if Ancestor Arrow Mountain had been alive, he would not have been a match for this giant, let alone the current Hall of Taimo. The giant has some misgivings, so he hasn't directly attacked the Hall of Taimo. However, we believe that he won't be able to wait for long. Enya's tone was unpleasant, as the Great Eastern Alliance was being bullied. The Hall of Taimo was a member of the Great Eastern Alliance, and if the Great Eastern Alliance did not handle this matter well, it would cause dissension and discord. Lu Yin could not allow such a thing to happen at a time like this, or else all of his previous efforts would have been wasted. "Got it," Lu Yin replied before ending the call. He pondered for a moment before activating his gadget. He wanted to contact Qing Tan. Soon Qing Tan's voice sounded. "Alliance Master Lu, I'm glad that you contacted me. Miss Qing Tan, there's something that I need your help with." In the Neoverse, atop Realm Mountain, Qing Tan's eyes lit up when she heard Lu Yin's request. "Alliance Master Lu, please speak your mind. If I can help, Qing Tan will definitely not refuse." Welcome aboard. Stay tuned and subscribe to Han Li's Wuxia Adventures for more thrilling content. Chapter 1636. It was just as Lu Yin had said. Many Interverse powers had secretly joined the Blazing Mist Flow Zone, and it would have been fine if the Great Eastern Alliance did not participate, but once it did, it would easily lead to a backlash from the entire Interverse. Alliance Master Lu, you should know that the board cannot interfere in a power struggle. This is a difficult situation for me, Qingtan said. Also, why does Alliance Master Lu insist on joining the Blazing Mist Flow Zone? Luyin lowered his voice. At this point, I don't want to hide anything from Miss Qingtan. Actually, I've reached an agreement with some people from the Sixth Mainland. We'll keep the 5 weaves of the Great Eastern Alliance, and the Sixth Mainland will not interfere. These 5 weaves are the closest to the Blazing Mist Flow Zone, and the Astral River Arc is also under the control of the Great Eastern Alliance. Qingtan's eyes trembled. Alliance Master Lu actually has the ability to reach an agreement with the Sixth Mainland? Not many from the Sixth Mainland would dare to agree to such an agreement. Luyin smiled. Naturally. Dare I ask, Alliance Master Lu, who agreed to this agreement? Qingtan asked. Luyin hesitated. Qingtan said, since Alliance Master Lu doesn't want to say more, then just treat it as me asking too much. Luyin replied, Miss Qingtan, it's not that I don't want to tell you but... He hesitated again. If I tell you, can you keep it a secret? Definitely, Qingtan said firmly. Luyin said, the Autumn Frost family, the Galloping Horse Villa, and the Arrow Sect. Qingtan memorized this information. Alliance Master Lu, how did you do it? I'm just curious. If Alliance Master Lu doesn't want to say more, then I won't ask any more questions. One of Progenitor Chen's 9 clones was a giant, and the giant's bloodline can help the Heavenly Overlord's bloodline evolve into the Heavenly Overlord's bloodline. This is an unparalleled bloodline, and the Autumn Frost family couldn't refuse it. As for Progenitor Chen's bloodline, I've already handed it over to the Autumn Frost family. Some time ago, the Autumn Frost family sent experts to Frostwave Weave. On the surface, they appeared to be taking Autumn Frost Qing and the others away, but in reality, they were taking away Progenitor Chen's bloodline. It was all just a show. Madame Red of the Galloping Horse Mountain Villa is even simpler. Progenitor Wushang's skin is an ancestor's item. Madame Red has been a world imprinter for a very long time, and she wants to break through to the cosmic imprinter level. She's tried everything including Progenitor Wushang's skin. As for the Arrow Sect, they desire the Hall of Taimo so that they can obtain part of the legacy of the Sixth Mainland's Arrow Progenitor. This is no secret, so I'll just give them the legacy of the Hall of Taimo. Right now there are people from the Arrow Sect in the Hall of Taimo. On the surface, they seem to be blocking the entrance, but in reality, they've reached an agreement with me to obtain the legacy of the Hall of Taimo. The Autumn Frost Clan, the Flying Horse Mountain Villa, and the Arrow Sect are enough for the Great Eastern Alliance to obtain 5 territories. Qingtan listened quietly as she recalled the friction between the Autumn Frost family and the Great Eastern Alliance. It had been said that the Autumn Frost family had arrived at Xenu Star, and she had expected a battle to break out, but it had ended peacefully. It seemed that things were not as they seemed, but rather a secret deal. As she thought about it, she contacted some people to investigate the Arrow Sect's whereabouts, and she learned that the Arrow Sect's brute force was currently blocking the entrance to Taimo Temple. How could the Outerverse territory be so easily given to the Great Eastern Alliance? Even if those 3 powers agreed, the others would not, as he could chase away the Great Eastern Alliance with a single sentence. However, he still needed to investigate this matter, especially when he saw the words, Progenitor Wushang's hide, in the report. Luyin actually had a progenitor item, and any progenitor item could not be underestimated. Madame Red did not have the qualifications to possess a progenitor item. In the Outerverse, the Flying Horse Mountain Villa was located in the West Weave of the Saint Lesser Weave. This weave had originally been owned by the Moke Sword sect, but because the Sixth Mainland had entered the Outerverse, the entire sect had been moved to the East Weave. The current owner of this weave was the Flying Horse Mountain Villa. On a planet not too far away from the Flying Horse Mountain Villa, the giant bloodline had been abandoned. This planet was barren and the creatures on it had no intelligence. They only knew how to hunt and kill. There was a thump as Qin Jian smashed a 1,000-meter-long python to death with a single punch. He then tore it apart and roasted it. To him, this 1,000-meter-long python was nothing more than a small snake. Ku Wei sat on Qin Jian's shoulder with a look of despair on his face. He looked up and wondered where he was. "Master, save me," Ku Wei wailed. Outside the planet, Madame Red watched with interest. These giants were all natural warriors and each of them had limitless potential. Once they were trained, the Flying Horse Mountain Villa's strength would increase significantly. After all, these giants had appeared during the war with the Fifth Mainland, and they were very powerful. Her gaze landed on Ku Wei. How could this guy be with those giants? How could he be with them? Just as she was about to drag Ku Wei out, Madame Red suddenly received a notice to head to the southern weave to meet Old Man Sangxiong. Madame Red was puzzled. Old Man Sangxiong? The progenitor of Blood Territory's celestial imprint. She was a cultivator from the progenitor of Martial Territory, so she would definitely be meeting him as one of the Daosor sect's 4 reverends. Why would he want to meet her? They had never interacted before. Although it was strange, she did not dare to refuse Old Man Sangxiong's summons. She glanced at the giants again. She would train them when she returned. That Lu Yin would soon know that these giants were with her. No matter what the conditions were, she could not hand them all over to Lu Yin. A day after confirming that Madame Red had left, Lu Yin, Lu Yefei, and Tsang Yi led the way to the Flying Horse Mountain Villa. Along the way, Tsang Yi was not obstructed at all. Madame Red had already opened up a path for him, and she was only waiting for him to reach the Flying Horse Mountain Villa before contacting Lu Yin. They looked at the towering mountain stream in front of them. This was the Flying Horse Mountain Villa, which had once been the headquarters of the Moke Sword sect. The Flying Horse Mountain Villa's specialty was the Astral Pegasi, but that was only in the 6th mainland. The Eternals had invaded, and the 6th mainland had collapsed. The Flying Horse Mountain Villa's former location had also suffered a devastating blow. The Astral Pegasi were nearly extinct, and they could not be brought back to the Outerverse. The Flying Horse Mountain Villa did not live up to its name. Madame Red was delighted to see the giants, and one of the reasons was that she wanted them to replace the Astral Pegasi. "You're Tsang Yi?" An extremely ugly woman stood in front of Lu Yin's group at the main entrance of the Flying Horse Mountain Villa, glaring at Tsang Yi with sinister eyes. Tsang Yi felt his hair stand on end from her stare, and he hurriedly bowed. "Yes, I am Tsang Yi. I've been ordered to come here. Madam will be leaving for now. Do as she says." Inside the ships were cultivators from the Ross Empire, including androids and cultivators who had submitted to the Ross Empire. There were also cultivators from the One Family, the Beast Tamers flow zone, and the surrounding smaller flow zones. Emperor Luo stared at the sky. Half a month ago, with the deaths of a few people, the war had begun to spiral out of control. The Beast Tamers flow zone's little mountain god had been heavily injured, and the One Family's Wen Sa, who had once been in the top 100 rankings, had died. Many people from the Sword sect and the Lingling clan had also died. It was very strange, as these important people seemed to have been targeted. He was not the only one to notice this, as many people had noticed this as well. However, these people had too many connections, and unless they could find the person behind the scenes, there was no way to explain this. After all, this was a battlefield. Emperor Luo looked towards a corner. It was time to ask the Astral Beast Domain's experts to make a move. As long as Lord Dragon was eliminated, the Sylvan Dragons would be leaderless, and no matter how much support the Sword sect and the Lingling clan gave them, it would be useless. Furthermore, Emperor Luo was more willing to believe that the Sword sect and the Lingling clan would divide up the Sylvan Dragons and use them as mounts. Emperor Luo stepped forward and arrived at a corner of the stronghold. He opened the door and walked in. Emperor Luo was on high alert in the darkness below. Suddenly, a black shadow flashed past and he stood in place. "It's me." The black shadow paused and then scattered, turning into countless black shadows that spiraled like pythons. It was a terrifying sight. The Luo Emperor looked ahead and saw a pitch-black mass of seaweed. It was seaweed, and a pair of eyes peeked out from the seaweed. This was an elite from the Astral Beast domain called the Dark Beast. It called itself the Dark Beast. In fact, whether it was in official war records or records, there were no records of the Dark Beast in the human domain. Wondrous library. That is the Ross Empire's most advanced technology. Then why does the Luo Huang have destructive power that surpasses an emissary's? Lu Yin asked as he looked at the Luo Huang lying on the ground. Scholar New Moon hurriedly replied, "Your Majesty, the Luo Huang is a cultivator, and if we look at the destructive power of a technological weapon, then he's at most an enlighter." Lu Yin waved his hand and dismissed everyone. He then walked over to the Luo Huang's side. The Luo Huang's mechanical eyes stared at him, but Lu Yin did not know what the Emperor could see. "Tell me. I'm very curious. You've used more than one technological method in a crisis that surpasses an emissary's power level. This isn't something that the Innerverse should possess," Lu Yin said calmly. The Luo Huang's eyes flickered with a red light, and the frequency at which they flickered increased. Luin frowned. "If you don't tell me, then die." He then raised a hand and overlaying stacks shook the void and tore apart space itself. The astral source universe was faintly visible, and at the same time, there were traces of golden battle force streaking past. The Luo Huang spoke up. "I obtained it." "Is that so?" Luin did not believe him. The Luo Huang continued, "I obtained it in the technocracy." Lu Yin's brows rose. "What do you mean?" The red light in the Luo Huang's eyes flickered faster and faster, and Lu Yin remained vigilant. Finally, the red light converged to form a screen in the air that showed a person's perspective. "What's this?" The person in the screen was a woman with traces of mechanical stitches around her ears. She was clearly a female android. "This is something that I just obtained from my lock breaking. Take a look. It records an unprecedented technology that can unleash a destructive power that surpasses 500,000, the female android said excitedly as she held a palm-sized, square-shaped crystal in her hand. It was very beautiful. "Really?" Suddenly, a hand shot out from behind the female android and pierced through her body to grab the square-shaped crystal. The person in the screen grabbed the crystal at the same time. "Let go." The person in the screen did not say anything. He simply raised his hand and a beam of light shot out. Everything in the screen exploded and the screen shut down. You're tuning into the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.